All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Never a dull moment, never a dull day. So in just a second, Iran has officially fired back at U.S. military bases in the region as predicted. We have Trump threatening nuclear annihilation. That's fun. I have a dire warning for Democrats. I'm going to give you some examples of Democrats who are fighting properly and give you some examples of Democrats who are absolutely shitting the bed at this crucial moment. Then we'll get into Fox News smears hitting a disgusting new low, a new poll that spells doom for Trump and MAGA when it comes to what he's trying to do with mass deportations, deploying the military in Los Angeles. I also have Dave Smith running circles around a warmonger loser on Piers Morgan's show. Weirdo Fox News host Mark Levin gives one of the most unhinged and mental breakdown tirades against Bernie and AOC. And also later on, I have an amazing compilation for you. You don't want to miss this. All the times Trump said he wouldn't start a war. We got them all for you. We got them all. And we also have Tim Dillon being dumbfounded by MAGA's warmongering. So you guys know the drill. Everybody please subscribe to the channel below. That helps out massively and costs you nothing at all. You can also click that bell icon and get a notification every single time a video drops. Much love, of course, to all you who support this show on Patreon. Literally could not do it without you. This is real independent media. I've never had a conversation with an advertiser, never done an ad read. If you'd like to support, you could donate $2 a month, $5 a month, whatever it may be. It goes a long way, man. Believe me. And also sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. As I pointed out, we did a big debate with Cenk Uygur last week. We got some amazing stuff coming up. You can sign up on Substack below and go subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel because we're dropping Kyle and Corin podcasts over there every week. We still haven't missed a week since we put it on his channel. So if you enjoy old school Kyle and Corin, as I know many of you do, go subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel. All right, guys, let's get it. So let's start with this here. Reported Iranian missiles over Qatar and U.S. air defenses activated. So we have a video for you. Let's take a look at this. So that's one of the videos there. Let me give you some more information on this. Here's what we know so far. Iran has launched Operation Glad Tidings of Victory, targeting U.S. forces. At least 6 missiles fired at U.S. bases in Qatar. Explosions heard over Doha, possibly intercepted. U.S. jets scrambling over Saudi Arabia. More missiles reportedly fired at U.S. bases in Iraq. Alarms going off at U.S. air bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. All U.S. bases in the region may be at risk. Trump is back in the Situation Room with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I don't know about you guys, but I feel much more calm knowing that the drunk grapist, Pete Hegseth, is in the Situation Room and he's on top of it. The guy who has a crusader tattoo, I'm sure he's going to make very level-headed decisions. All right, so let me give you some more. This is from Trita Parsi. He's with the Quincy Institute. He's an expert on Iran. He says, Iran has begun bombing empty American air bases in the region. The U.S. most likely expected attacks in Syria, Iraq, and perhaps Bahrain, but Tehran seems to have opted to go after bases in Qatar and possibly the UAE instead. This will, of course, have significant implications for Iran's relations with these states, but also their relations with the U.S., mindful of their opposition to Trump's strikes and anger at him for disregarding their security and interests. And Tehran may also seek to show Trump that they are willing to strike back harder and further than he might have anticipated. There is a scenario similar to the 2020 strikes against Iraqi bases, in which both sides call it quits after one round of fire. But I find that scenario unstable because of the Israeli element. Israel will continue to strike Iran and vice versa, and as long as that is the case, the Israelis will continue to put relentless pressure on Trump to join in the war in various ways. None of this would have happened had Trump rejected the first step that Israel pushed him to take, shifting his red line to zero enrichment. That misstep deliberately set up a cascade of events that predictably led to this war. Trump's only exit out of this is to discard the Israeli red line of zero enrichment and return to the American red line of no weaponization. So what I would say in response to that is, as Seymour Hersh reported, it looks like the Americans and the Israelis already agree on regime change, and that has been green lit. And so this strike back from Iran which is, let's be honest, tepid as it may be because they gave forewarning and all the bases are totally empty, this is still going to be used by the U.S. and by Israel to basically throw a tantrum and use it as a justification and a rationalization to do more now, to go further in Iran. As I pointed out in that original Seymour Hersh reporting, he said that they're looking at bombing more top military officials, more top political officials, finishing off the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, going after the Grand Ayatollah, also bombing police stations and civil society in Tehran. The Israelis are already shooting again at Tehran, and Tehran is firing back at Israel. They've hit some power stations, for example. So this is all par for the course with once Trump opened the door to the attacks on the nuclear facilities in Iran, it was clear that the die had been cast. And effectively, he's going to go for a regime change war. And Trump just said it. He said he was going to go for a regime change war. He just tweeted it the other day. And so I'm actually surprised at the forewarning that was given. I'm surprised at the fact that they're going after empty military bases. But there has been, as you all know, some stuff going on in the Strait of Hormuz where they're at least partially blocking it, it seems. Scrambling GPSs, turning around oil tankers. So that would have a much bigger impact because that hits directly at the heart of the global economy. And that could be a catastrophe for everybody. That's why Trump came out the other day and he was screaming about, keep oil prices low. Don't you dare raise them. Don't you dare raise them. Because no doubt he had just gotten briefed that because of what Iran is doing in the Strait of Hormuz, that will definitely impact oil prices. All right, so let me give you some more here. This is from the New York Times. Iran coordinated the attacks on the American airbase in Qatar with Qatari officials and gave advance notice that attacks were coming to minimize casualties. According to 3 Iranian officials familiar with the plans, the officials said Iran symbolically needed to strike back at the U.S., but at the same time carry it out in a way that allowed all sides an exit ramp. They described it as a similar strategy to 2020 when Iran gave Iraq a heads up before firing ballistic missiles at an American airbase in Iraq following the assassination of its top general. So again, this is kind of a weird situation, right? Because this is existential for the government of Iran. Trump and Netanyahu are going for regime change in Iran. And here you have Iran still showing restraint, still being tepid, still giving a heads up, and basically just doing a virtue signal strike back. So I don't know why the U.S., why Trump and Netanyahu won't immediately look at this and just conclude what they already concluded, which is, we think these people are weak, and we think we could take them out anyway, so on to the next phase of what they already greenlit and already agreed to do. Okay, Qatar's foreign minister issued a statement saying Qatari air defenses thwarted the attack and successfully intercepted the Iranian missiles with no injuries or deaths reported. So a lot of this stuff didn't even fucking get through. But at the same time, you ready for this? Here's what Trump's out there tweeting. Ready? He says, "Did I hear from President Medvedev from Russia casually throwing around the N-word, nuclear, and saying that he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran? Did he really say that, or is it just a figment of my imagination? If he did say that, and if confirmed, please let me know immediately. The N-word should not be treated so casually. I guess that's why Putin's the boss. By the way, if anyone thinks our hardware was great over the weekend, far and away the strongest and best equipment we have, 20 years advanced over the pack, is our nuclear submarines. They are the most powerful and lethal weapons ever built. And just launched the 30 Tomahawks. All 30 hit their mark perfectly. So in addition to our great fighter pilots, thank you to the captain and crew." So that is a not so subtle nuclear threat to Medvedev, to Putin, to Russia, basically saying, hey, bitch, stay out of it. Don't you dare try to give the Iranians more powerful weapons. Don't you dare try to give them a nuke. But look, here's the reality, and this should be obvious to everybody involved. One of the only things that could actually make the U.S. and Israel stop is if Iran had a nuke. Because then, if Iran has a nuke, what that says is you can't touch us. Because then we could just destroy everything, right? And think about it. That's why North Korea is still North Korea. Kim Jong-un is still the leader. I mean, he's a fucking psychopath, and it's a hermit totalitarian kingdom, but he has a nuclear weapon, so the West is in a position where they can't violently overthrow him, because they know if we do anything to him, he could launch on Seoul, South Korea, and wipe everybody out, right? So one of the few things that would actually end this is if Iran gets a nuke. So here you have Russia, Iran's ally, saying, maybe we should give him a nuke so that we can stop what's coming, right? And here's Trump not so subtly threatening Russia with nukes. Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. So look, the question is, well, how the fuck do you fight back against this? And look, I'm going to do a separate segment on all the Republican politicians have cucked themselves and bent the knee except Thomas Massie. Like, it's humiliating. It's embarrassing. But among Democratic politicians, some of them are fighting properly and correctly, and then others are shitting the bed. So I'll do a separate segment on the ones who are shitting the bed. But let me show you how it's done. So to my surprise, here we have Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. And he honestly is leading the way. Listen to what he says here.
Look, America was lied into a war in 2002 against Iraq with a Republican administration giving us false information about Iraq's weapons program. I have grave concern that we're going down the same path. Donald Trump's own national security officials have stated that Iran was not close to having a nuclear weapon. And Shannon, just Friday night, the Israeli foreign minister said that its bombing campaign over the last 9 days had set back the Iranian nuclear program by at least 2 or 3 years. There was no imminent threat to the United States from this nuclear program. It was an offensive war of choice by a president without consultation with Congress. We're going to have the briefing this week. We'll have a vote. I know many Republicans will fall in line and say a president can do whatever he wants. But I hope members of the Senate and the House will take their Article 1 responsibility seriously and say, you didn't even notify us, much less get an authorization. The U.S. should not be at war without a vote of Congress.
It was offensive. There was no threat, and they lied. Those are major, major points that he hit, and God bless him for doing it. I remember when we used to make fun. Remember, Tim Kaine was picked as Hillary's VP, and we used to make fun of it. Remember when they did the whole, like, Tim Kaine in the membrane thing? We used to mock that. Like, bro, come on, that's cheesy as hell. Now, Tim Kaine's looking like a bit of a superstar, if I'm being honest with you. He hit the major points. The only one he missed is you gotta impeach the motherfucker. You have to impeach him. Completely and utterly unhinged, totally unconstitutional, totally illegal, bringing us all into a massive regime change war in the Middle East, never mind potentially World War III. This is how you fight back. This is how you do it. But he's not done yet. Believe it or not, he actually goes further here, and I think one of the points he makes in this is even better. Here we go.
Well, the vice president was on another network earlier this morning and said, we are not at war with Iran. We are at war with Iran's nuclear program. There seems to be a lot of legal parsing on the definition of the word war here. What do you make of that description?
I think it's BS, and I think anybody hearing it would conclude the same thing. When you're bombing another nation, ask them if they think it's war. They do. Would we think it was war if Iran bombed a U.S. nuclear facility? Of course we would. And the U.S., you know, we've invaded 2 neighbors of Iran, Afghanistan and Iraq, to topple their regimes since 2000. Those were wars. Mm-hmm. This is the U.S. jumping into a war of choice at Donald Trump's urging, without any compelling national security interest for the United States to act in this way, particularly without a debate and vote in Congress. We should not be sending troops and risking troops' lives in an offensive war without a debate in Congress.
Man, oh man, was I wrong about Tim Kaine, wasn't I? Holy shit. I genuinely and sincerely feel bad. This man is helping to lead the charge now. It's offensive. Iran wasn't a threat. They just like they lied in Iraq, they're lying to us now. And then he says, would we think it was a war if they bombed our nuclear facilities? Would we think it's a war if they did? Of course we think it's a war. The idea of it, bro, it's all right. It was a limited strike on only our nuclear facilities. That doesn't count as a war, does it? Does it? I mean, it's absurd. When you put the shoe on the other foot, it all becomes so clear. It's so obvious what's happening. And then he goes as far as to say, we invaded their neighbors. Like, we're the problem here. We invaded their neighbors, and those were wars too. By the way, important point. Actually, technically, legally speaking, those weren't declared wars. Do you believe that? Technically, legally speaking, those weren't wars, which goes to show you how fucking Orwellian this system is. They're like, oh, we're not going to call it a war, so it's not a war. Just like this is what Russia did when they invaded Ukraine. They said, no, it's not a war. It's a special military operation. Well, here we fucking are years later. Lord knows how many casualties later. It's a war. Call it what it is. It's a fucking war. God bless Tim Kaine for fighting back properly, man. Again, the only thing he's missing is you gotta impeach the motherfucker. That's it. He's gotta go. He's gotta go. No more talk. No more bullshit. No more arguing. You have to impeach him. I've never seen a more clear, illegal, unconstitutional thing in my entire life. There is no stretch of an argument that they were a threat to us. There is no stretch of an argument that you could just add this on to the authorization for use of military force for the war on terror. Iran had nothing to do with 9/11. They had nothing to do with the war on terror whatsoever. So it's illegal. He's got to go. Impeach, remove, criminally charge him, arrest him for the war criminal that he is. He's committing war crimes on a daily fucking basis. This is how you fight back. Or do we want to sit back and relax as they bring us further and further towards Armageddon? Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.